let's talk about things that are, including the lumbar plexus. And, plexus time, which means let's see how the ventral rami of spinal nerves, how they converge into the plexus, and then which peripheral nerves are distributed from there. Okay? So the lumbar plexus consists of spinal nerves L1 through L5. But I'm going to put in T12 at first, just to give us a nice landmark structure. It's going to be a spinal nerve that we're going to look for in dissection. So just remember, these are ventral rami of the following spinal nerves. T12 as a landmark, then L1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as the actual components of the lumbar plexus. So the ventral ramus of spinal nerve T12, it's the 12th intercostal nerve, and there is a theme for naming the 12th intercostal nerve something else. Does anyone remember? Yeah, if it's a 12th intercostal something, it's referred to as subcostal. So this is the subcostal nerve. That is the ventral ramus of T12. This is not formally part of the lumbar plexus. Really wants to be, but it isn't. It's just more of a landmark. It's going to help you in dissection. When you find the subcostal nerve, you know that the lumbar plexus will be inferior to this. Beginning with L1, a branch off of the ventral ramus of L1 will come out from the spine, and then at some point along its length, it will split. We really should remember that this nerve will split at a variable distance, because sometimes you don't see this nerve split until way far down in the abdominal cavity. Sometimes it is split very close to the vertebral column. We'll talk about that when we look at the illustrations from your atlas. But the concept is L1 branching and going into two nerves that I think we've all had our fun looking for. What's the superior ilio nerve you look for? Hypogastric. The iliohypogastric nerve is found superior to the ilioinguinal nerve. They're both arising from L1. Contribution from L1 and L2 come together to form the genitofemoral nerve. And the genitofemoral nerve will itself split and let's put our cutaneous branch of this split in blue. I'm sorry that it probably doesn't project very well, but the femoral branch of the genitofemoral nerve is sensory in function. Everything else in black is mixed, sensory and motor. Okay, so let me kind of make a legend up here for you. Anything in blue is sensory, as well as postganglionic sympathetic. Anything that we draw in black, sensory, motor, and postganglionic sympathetic. But if you're asked to talk about these functions in terms of functional components, we need to have 3-letter abbreviations. I'm just keeping it casual. I'm being a bad role model. I'm just saying sensory, motor, and postganglionic sympathetic. But I know that you know that these are somatic, sensory, somatic motor, and then GVE, postganglionic sympathetic. Okay. So that means that the genital branch of genitofemoral is sensory, motor, and postganglionic sympathetic. Just the femoral branch. No more motor axons in femoral branch. It's only sensory and autonomic. Okay, L2 and L3 come together to form a cutaneous nerve. So I'm back to the blue. And the nerve that contains L2 and L3 is the lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. Lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. You could also say lateral femoral cutaneous. That's the more Latin way to say it, so that could be acceptable, or lateral cutaneous nerve of the thigh. That works just the same. So we're actually done with the sensory-only nerves here. Everything else back to black. Mixed sensory motor with the postganglionic sympathetic. Now we'll have L2, L3, and L4 come together to form the femoral nerve. L2, L3, and L4 off of the lumbar plexus, contributing to the femoral nerve. Obturator nerve is L2, L3, and L4. L2, L3, L4 come together to form the obturator nerve. L3 and L4 come together to form a nerve that I believe is in your study guide, the accessory obturator, but it is not very important. So if it's not in your study guide, don't even draw it. I didn't check. At least I thought when I checked it was in there. It's only present 10% of the time. That doesn't seem like high priority stuff to me. But if you were wondering how you would put accessory obturator with segmental innervation L3 and L4, that's how I would put it on here. And lastly, the lumbosacral trunk. The lumbosacral trunk is a structure that communicates from lumbar spinal nerves to sacral spinal nerves. So we're going to pick this back up when we get to the sacral plexus, but this is L4 and L5, and it is the lumbosacral trunk. And since it contains L4 and L5, it is part of the concept that is the lumbar plexus. Anything to clarify with this plexus? Okay, that's it.